My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people. All right, welcome back, everybody. Eli here, and today on Meet Cool People, I have a cool friend of mine, Julie Jones. And let me tell you a little bit about her before we get started. She is a people skills strategist and business etiquette expert. Her company, Today's Professional Consulting and Development, specializes in executive leadership, training, business etiquette, and people skills development, which we all need a lot of these days. And she's just a cool person. We hit it off immediately. So I'm going to bring her in here. Julie, thanks for coming and hanging out with me today.
Thanks for having me on Meet Cool People. I mean, I think you're one of the coolest people I know. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Now, you and I met at one of, I think, was it the Connect Fest, I think?
Connect Fest.
At
I
Connect
sat
Fest.
with you.
Yeah. And that was Sheryl Powers, who has also been a guest on the show.
And a great connector of people.
Great connector. She's an amazing, cool person. One of my favorite cool people. And we had the opportunity, like you and I connected at Connect Fest. Was that the one that I was speaking at?
Yes.
So. Okay.
I didn't know you were speaking. I just happened to sit down next to you, and you were really smart. Like I could ask you questions. It's like, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, now Eli's up. And I was like, oh, he's a speaker. No wonder he's so smart.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, you sat down. That's right. Because that was the one I was speaking at. My daughter was there for that one. So Morgan was there.
Yes.
And you and I started chatting, and then other speakers were up, and then I went up and talked, and we just hit it off and had a great time.
Yeah.
And so you and I've had several conversations since then, stayed in touch, and you are doing some pretty cool stuff. Of course, you and I have a cool vibe. It was a lot of fun. And so I wanted to bring you on and come share a little bit of stuff that's going on with you. So I gave a little bit of your bio. Let's give a little bit more detail. Tell us more about, what it is you do and how you're helping your clients.
Well, let me tell you about my story, like how I got here.
Okay.
Because most people go business etiquette, like people skills. What is this? Right. I don't even know what you do.
Well, that's because people don't know what people skills are these days.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, it's like, what does that mean? And so business etiquette, I mean, I literally have people go, do we still do that? I'm like, well, we should. Etiquette does not go out of style. It's not old fashioned.
Yeah.
But what happened was, this was back in 2010, 2011. I was a teacher. I'd spent 15 years in the classroom. I was a private school administrator, and I was, I had aspirations to be superintendent. I mean, I even had hours toward my superintendent certificate and my doctorate. And so I was sitting in the professional development in August, and our principal stood up and said, the business community is telling us that when the students come out of high school and college, they're not ready. They're not ready for work. And so we're going to add something to what we're already doing. We're going to give you another lesson plan. And you could just feel the air in the room just kind of go, ugh, right? Because the stories that we hear coming out of education are true. Right. I mean, teachers really are overworked. They're underpaid, undervalued, underloved, all of the things. And I think school systems are a little bit better now. But back then it was, this is who we are. We're not changing. This is what we do. And so when they said we're going to give you something else to do, it just felt like the definition of insanity. Right. We're going to double down on what's not working. And so I started doing research, and I found that companies hire etiquette consultants to come work with their team members to teach them how to be professionals, because it was the soft skills / people skills that was missing. And so I went to the Protocol School of Washington the following summer, became an etiquette consultant. I came back and told my principal, look, I've done this. I've got this etiquette consultant. I'm now official, and I can teach these skills. I can teach leadership, and I can help bridge that gap from what the business community is wanting and what we're doing in education. And she literally laughed at me. and said, I don't need a certified etiquette consultant. I can get a basketball coach to teach leadership, and just kind of like pat me on the head and go back and do your thing. And I was like, okay. So I have a marketing degree. My first degree was from marketing. It's from the 1900s, but the basics are still the same, right? So I went to GoDaddy. I got a website, I got a domain, and I went to their website builder and I built this cheesy website. And I think the colors were pink and gray, like all the things that we know now about branding, pink and gray, very feminine. And but I did know enough to put that if I was an etiquette consultant, a business etiquette consultant and trainer, that needed to be at the top of my page. It needed to be in my domain name. And so I created this cheesy website and started getting calls from businesses. The following year, I left education because I knew that this is what I wanted to do. And I wanted to go into business. So this was back in 2011 when I got certified. I left in 2013, and I have never looked back. And then I was doing this for a while, and then I had an opportunity to start a plumbing company from the ground floor. Like, we're going to create this new company, and it was so fun. But what I learned as I'm onboarding people, I began to then realize how important these people skills are and how important etiquette is when I'm teaching people how to represent me when they're in someone's home, how to represent me when they're driving on the road and they've got a logo that is my logo, right? And so I realized then that this training is important, and I understood then why companies hire people to come in and teach this. And so I made that a point to really instill these skills into everyone that worked with us.
I love it. And that is, it's so funny. There's several things that you said in there that I want to unpack here, but so funny that people don't actually realize that until they're the owner of the company, how important these things are. It's really
Oh,
like, for me, I always looked at, I don't know if I think it's like, for me, because even when I was an employee, I took personal pride in everything.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
I always did my best and put on my best image for the fact that I had the personal pride of it. And
mhm,
that's something that I see is missing in a lot of people these days.
yep,
And they don't understand that those attention to details of conversation and how you talk and things like that are so, so important. And I think that's one of the reasons why you and I gel so well, is because of the fact that we both do a lot of the same kind of things in the little nuances. You
yes,
do it in business etiquette. I do it in how do you write more effectively and communicate more effectively that way. So it's just a
all
different
the same.
modality, but it's the same stuff. Yeah.
Same stuff, same stuff. And
I
you're
love
exactly
that.
right. You're exactly right. How do you create a message? How do you show up with your personal presence,
Hmm.
whether it's written or in person? How do you show up so that people want to know more about you? They
Yeah.
want to, because the know, like, and trust thing is not cliche.
You're right.
And it starts from the moment you're with someone. Are you approachable? I
Hmm.
mean, that's, and you give that, we call that energy, right? You
Hmm.
give that energy off when you walk into a room. And I learned then, that some people are invisible, and they're invisible by design.
Yeah.
They're here in full plain sight, but yet they don't want to be seen, and that's the energy they're giving off, and so they're not seen.
Hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's funny because, like, some people, that's literally what they're looking for. They want to be they want to be the wallflower. They want to be hidden in that aspect. Then there's some people that are exactly the opposite, and they have to be the center of attention. And then there's, like,
Right.
I like to play kind of, I'm in the middle ground, and I play the middle ground a lot. It's like, I'm an introvert. A lot of people don't think that about me until I start talking to them. They're like, "You're not an introvert." I'm like, "Oh, actually, yes, I am. I'm very much so."
I am too.
But everything, the fun thing about this, and this is why the stuff you and I are talking about today is so important, is because everything that we do, like you and I both being introverts, everything we do is a learned skill.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that is like, we can turn it on and off, and we learn how to manage the energy for the introvert in us, because that's a big piece of it. But there are certain things you can do, and this is where
Yes.
your side comes in, especially like your etiquette training and those soft
Mhm.
skills pieces that actually let people know, okay, I can do this And these are the steps to make that happen.
Yeah.
And I love that. I'm going to sort of ignore the part where you said, back in the 1900s, which I think that's really funny that we reference that now. I found that humorous, and I was like, I almost interrupted. I'm like, no, she's telling a good story. I want to let her keep going, but that one I just thought was really funny. But I would,
True.
it
I mean,
is true.
it's
It is true, but it's like it's really weird to think about that. It's like, oh yeah, back in the 1900s, it's like, okay, now you feel like we're talking about like, when we're dealing with coal mines and stuff.
well, we still think the 1900s was like 10 or 20 years ago.
Yeah, like, like 5 years ago.
Yeah, and it was, but my 1900s goes way back. It goes
Mhm.
back further, you
Yeah.
know? So yeah,
Yeah.
it
Well,
just
it's
like yesterday.
I know, it's so funny. Well, I'm not that much younger than you. But yeah, it's so much it's funny to go in that. So, let's talk about like some of the skills that are really like what are the skills that people are missing that people need to be aware of?
Mhm.
And then after that, let's jump into a little bit of what are some of the things that people can do now and actually start making that step forward.
Right. I think one of the first soft skills that or people skills that people need to have is that you are the way you show up matters.
Mhm.
We have, I think, before COVID, we were seeing a decline in human interaction, face to face interaction,
Yes.
and the way people show up. But then COVID hit, and we all withdrew, and we were isolated, and it's taken us a while to come back. But now companies are actually calling people back full time. A lot of people are
Hmm.
saying, "We want you in the office at least 4 days a week."
Right.
The remote thing, we still want to work from remote, but our companies are like, we're missing something. Like there's something missing. We
Hmm.
want you here because there is something to being in the office and having camaraderie and laughing with your coworkers and developing that relationship that helps a company. It helps
Yeah.
a culture. And so while we're like, oh no, we want to be at home. We don't want to drive. There is something to that, but what we're seeing now is that we don't know how to interact with each other anymore. We're we're doing things like heating fish in microwaves, and we're talking really loud in an open office concept, and we're saying things that are offensive, and we're doing things that we forget. Oh, you know what? These this is my work family,
Right.
and I need to be aware of that. So, I think that is one thing, and I think our dress. I mean, we forget that we have
Mhm.
a personal brand. And
Yes.
and I'm not saying you have to always wear a suit. I mean, that those days are gone.
Right.
But there is something to professional dress, which could be dressy, professional, casual, which means that you look put together.
Right.
I recently saw a study that said that women who wear makeup make 40% more money.
Interesting. But I agree with the whole concept of that. And like I don't, now since COVID, I at first I was still always I still had the purple shirt with the jacket and everything. Now I live in Texas. We don't wear the jacket unless we really have to in public because it's just too damn
Summer.
hot.
Yeah.
But at first I was very much into still doing that, and I have gotten more lax. But even with that, like I have, these are plain t-shirts. Sometimes I'll have a plain button up, but it's all black, it's simple. But I have a whole bunch of shirts that have all kinds of stuff on them. Never wear those for these kind of things. And I see more and more people there's like they're just wearing whatever t-shirt, and they're just wearing, it looks half the time it looks like they just crawled out of bed. I'm just like, I don't, is this really the image you want to put out there? And
Mhm.
people I think have forgotten how important that really is. And it's not a big deal from a standpoint is like they're like, well, it's no big deal, nobody cares. Well, actually they do. They may
Sure.
not say anything about it, but they do. And people will see you more professionally, especially on a business standpoint. They're going to trust you more if you look like you're more successful. If you look like you just rolled out of bed, not so much.
Yeah, that's called the halo effect.
Hmm.
And when you look put together, and what I meant by make it, I'm not talking about attractiveness,
Right.
how pretty or good looking you are. I'm talking about, did you take time to put yourself together?
Yeah.
Did you fix your hair? Do you have a clothes on that resembles some type of style, whether
Mhm.
it's a color, whether it's a style, whether it's something that is always you, like you always look put together.
Right.
People assume that you're smarter, that you make more money, that they want to do business with you. They give
Mhm.
you credit. It's called the halo effect. And it
Okay.
just is simply get up and get dressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I think that's great, and I think that's one of the things. It's super simple, and yeah, it's like, yes, you're at home. You don't really want to get up and put on all the fancy clothes and everything, but you don't even have to go all the way. I mean, people are only seeing you from the waist up. You can still wear your yoga pants or your shorts if you want to, you
Exactly.
know.
100%. 100.
Yeah, I think that's a big one, and I love that. I think that that's really really important. You brought up something else too about the camaraderie of the business atmosphere, and like for you and I, we work out of our houses because we it's our business. We have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
But I do see that there is a point of um, having that community piece. Like even for me,
Mhm.
sometimes I'll go once or twice a month minimum. I'll go to a coffee shop and work so I can be around people. Even
Yeah.
if I'm not talking to them, I can it's just a different environment.
Yeah.
And when we become isolated, we also become less creative, I think.
I think so too. I think you're
Yeah.
right. Being around people, you know, we met at Connect Fest
Mhm.
at the meeting place
Oh
at
yeah.
Rob. Rob actually has a free membership that
Mhm.
he has for people like us who just need to get out of the house a couple of times a month and just go be around people.
Yep.
And he says he does that for that very purpose is to get people out. You're welcome to come here and grab an open seat and just be around people. Because he understands, when he created the meeting place, he understands the importance of being around other people. And so I think there is something to getting up and going to a coffee shop, having a space where you can go to rejuvenate,
Mhm.
because even though we're introverts, it's not good to be alone all the time. We were not created to be alone all the time.
Right.
We were created to be around other people. And you're right. I think having the creativity and having other people talk to you and bounce ideas off of that's what rejuvenates us, and it sparks something in us. So you're right. Get out when you can.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. I think that's a great one, and Rob's Place is a great place. I've been there many, many times, not as much as I would like to just because it's a bit of a drive. But it
It's,
is a those are those kind of things that, like for me, I go to networking events. I go to, bigger events when I can. And even as a speaker, and I'm sure you see this because I know you're a speaker as well, the best stuff, like we have virtual events that we
yep,
get to go to, virtual summits and stuff like that, which are awesome because we don't have to go anywhere. There's no travel, there's no hotels, any of that kind of stuff,
right.
but it's not the same. And that's one of the hardest things that when 2020 happened, that was the hardest part for me, was because I would go to, I was traveling across the country in 2019 and I was doing it every month. And then 2020 happens and all of a sudden I'm stuck in the house all the time. And it was just not a fun
Yeah,
experience.
right.
And I think we have to have that communication,
Mhm,
that face-to-face communication. Now,
mhm,
with that said, people have lost, and you mentioned this earlier, people have lost the ability to do that. They've the skill set to
mhm.
actually hold a real conversation and be sociable.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that we should be looking at in order to help fix that epidemic, is what I'm going to call it?
I think that getting out of the house for one thing. I'm not. Our younger generation is the one who's really struggling with this. Our younger millennials and our Gen Zs, we're hearing a lot about that because they're all in their heads and they're on technology. They were born with phones in their hands, and so they would rather do this or hide behind a keyboard or just send a text. I mean, even my own children. I mean, they're my youngest is millennial slash Gen Z, that crossover. He would much rather text than talk. That's just who they are. They're just very withdrawn. So making them get out a little bit and making them go to the office is a good thing, even though they may go kicking and screaming and complaining. It is something they need to do because once they're there, like my son goes, I didn't really want to go back to the office, but I like the people that I'm with, and we have fun at work, and I enjoy it, and we get, we do get things done. You have to have that discipline between chatting and talking and getting work done, but it does something for you. And so I think getting out of the house is one thing. I think the other thing that we need to do, and this is where the etiquette thing comes in, I think we need to go back to the table and eat. And I think we need to put our phones away, and we need to have designated time. My most requested class pre-COVID was dining etiquette. How do we take clients to a dinner, and what's the difference between that professional dinner, whether it's a job interview or you're taking a client to lunch or dinner, and going to lunch or dinner with your family and friends? What are the differences, and how do we define that? And everything is different about that meal. And I think we need to go back to that, because I think being able to handle keeping yourself in control and knowing what to do at a meal and having a conversation is a careful balance that we've lost touch of. So I think go back to the table, even if it's at
Mhm.
home, put your phone away, and don't, when you're in a meeting, when you're in a job interview, when you're at dinner, put your phones away.
Yeah, absolutely. I had this conversation with somebody just yesterday, actually, about that whole thing. Is the etiquette side, and that was actually literally what came into the conversation about, when I'm sitting down talking to somebody, the phone goes, I pull it out because it's usually in my back pocket, so I don't want to be sitting on it, but I put it face down on the table. That way, I don't see the notifications or anything, and then that way it's like, the only time I pull it out, I always also give a reason of why I'm pulling it out for that reason.
Yeah,
Is like,
absolutely.
hey, I'm leaving it up because I have a specific call I'm waiting for. And if they do call, I do need to take it.
Yeah,
Or I will do it if I don't happen to have my notebook with me. It's like, okay, I want to write this down real quick. Give me a second. And then I'll grab my phone, put it in, and then I put it away.
right.
But yeah, I think it's so funny because you bring up the fact of sitting down at the dining room table. I think that is great. I loved it when when we did that as a family. That was always, to me, that was actually preferred. And I think that, like, for me personally, I think the best way from a business standpoint, the best way to get to know somebody is by breaking bread, and you just get to have a good conversation with them over a meal. People lighten up, they have more fun, they laugh, they're much more relaxed while they're eating. And to me, that is my favorite experience. Like, that's where Meet Cool People actually came from. Honestly, it actually, when I was traveling around the country, I'd always tell people, it's like, I love speaking. It's one of my favorite things to do. But actually, my favorite part is when I would get off a stage and people come up and thank me for the stuff that I shared. And I'm like, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm
Mhm.
putting probably 10 or 15 people together for dinner. Why don't you come join us? And we would go find some hole in the wall. It was like, I made a point that it was always a cheap place because I never wanted anybody to feel like they couldn't afford to go.
Right.
And we'd find the coolest little places. I used to go to Miami, and there was a Mambo Cafe that's in Biscayne Bay, and it was one of my favorite places to go. We'd bring 10 or 15 people there once a month. The waitress got to the point where she knew me. I'd walk in the door with the whole entourage of people, and she'd walk up and give me a big old hug. And it was just the coolest experience altogether. And that literally was my favorite part of the entire time.
Yeah.
It wasn't the speaking part, honestly.
No, it's the people that you meet,
Hmm.
because you meet cool people when you do that, when you get out.
Yeah.
I think too, as you were talking, and I was thinking, what else should people be doing? And I'm going to speak to parents here. When you have a guest in your home, your children should be required to come out of their rooms to greet your guest, and
Hmm.
then they can leave, but they need to come out and say hello. Because how many times have you been somewhere, and then all of a sudden you're talking, and you're having lunch, or whatever, with somebody at their home, and then a kid walks through and never speaks to you.
Hmm.
We don't teach people how to greet each other. And
Yeah.
so the greeting, I think, is really important. And so teach that to your kids, that if
Hmm.
somebody is in your home, they come out and say hello, so that your guest knows there's somebody else in the home. This is my
Hmm.
child. And shake their hand, look them in the eye. Eye contact is really important. And we've lost that ability to,
Yeah.
to have eye contact. So I think these are all good things to think about when we're starting to teach people how to go in and be professional and have good etiquette and a good presence.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny that you bring that up about the kids coming out. So when I first moved here, the realtor that I work with, she knew I was here by myself. And so when it came around for Thanksgiving, she invited me to her house for Thanksgiving,
Yeah,
which was super cool and really, really appreciative. It's a memory I will never forget.
right.
And the interesting thing about that was, when her son came out and he came out, he introduced himself to me, super polite, very talkful. And that made such an impression that I was like, all right, this is a good kid. She's a good mom. This is the way it's supposed to be.
It's supposed to
And
be.
it's so funny that that made such a big impression to me because it's such a rarity in these days.
Yeah.
But it's such a powerful thing. And I think it's really important for kids to do that because of the fact that it teaches them to be more comfortable talking to strangers. It's so funny, as a kid, we're always taught don't talk to strangers. And now as an adult, we realize that doesn't serve us well. As a kid, it might have served us, but as an adult, that doesn't serve us in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, you're 100% right on that. I mean, you have to teach what you want them to grow up. Like, our responsibility as parents and as leaders is to
Hmm.
teach people and teach them how to be productive, successful adults, and to contribute to society.
Hmm.
So it starts with parents, right? And then when, like, my granddaughter started kindergarten this year, and so now it's the schools now link arms. It's supposed to be link arms with parents. Um, we link arms with the family, and now we now continue that journey up until they get to high school, and then when they go to college, now we link arms, or into the workforce. This is where we link arms, and we continue to teach and to grow. We
Right.
all have a responsibility to help grow and I want to say groom, but that's such a bad word these days. But
Well,
help
let's say
develop.
groom them in the right way, not
Yeah,
the creepy way. How's that?
right. I mean, let's say develop. To
Hmm.
develop their skills and their leadership so that they're learning from a variety of people
Hmm.
that are all want them to be the best that they can be. And that's, ideally. I don't want to be Pollyanna, but that's, we have to teach them how to handle conflict, how to understand how they respond when they're in distress, how to understand how to communicate with people who are different than they are. Maybe it's a
Right.
different personality type, a different culture. We have to teach them how to function and be in this world so that they can function and lead, because someday this is going to be their world.
Right.
So they have to be prepared.
Yeah, I love that, and I think it's such a critical thing, and that is something that I think is missing a lot in today's world, especially, how to communicate with people that are different personalities, different styles, different
Yeah,
upbringings, all the different things. Like,
all the different.
personality side is a great one by itself because so many people do not understand.
Yeah,
Like, for me, when I understood the basics of, like, DISC, the personality types, once I got that, I was like, okay, now I understand it, and then it was like, okay, I'm talking to this kind of person. I need to change the way I speak to them because they think differently,
yeah.
and
Platinum rule.
yeah.
You're treating them the way they want to be treated.
Hmm.
And in
Right.
communication, that's how you build that relationship and make people feel comfortable around you.
Right. I love it. That is awesome. Very cool. All right, we're getting close to the time, but I want to see if I can get one more cool thing from you before we wrap up here.
Yeah.
Based on everything we've talked about, now let's just, what are something, if somebody's got employees as staff, what are a couple of things that they can do to help up level their game of their employees and to help them with better communication skills?
I think teach them about emotional intelligence. So I use a tool called the process communication model, which is kind of like DISC, but it gets into more of understanding your emotional and psychological needs, how you can meet them, and especially how a manager can understand the team and meet their needs. Because we have to teach emotional intelligence, because we have to teach people, first of all, to understand your emotions and then to control them, And then also then how to understand other people and how to meet their needs. And so emotional intelligence there's a different parts to it, but the two main parts are understand yourself and understand others. And really 85% of a person's success comes from people skills. It comes from your ability to connect with others. It's not necessarily how smart you are. And so you have to be good with people because you want people to follow you and to believe in you. And the one thing that young professionals ask me all the time is, how do I develop trust in somebody your age? How can I let somebody your age know that my youth is not a disadvantage, but it is an advantage? And I tell them it's how you show up. It's how you understand yourself, how you meet my needs, and how you communicate. And if you're acting like a teenager, then somebody my age is not going to want to do business with you because we don't think that you're there yet. But it doesn't matter if you're 22, if you show up as a mature, responsible person, you're dressed the part, you look the part, you act the part, then age doesn't matter. And so it's really all about how you show up.
Right. I love that. And it's, you know, for me, as you're describing that, the first thing I'm thinking of, show up confident, not cocky.
Yes.
There's a difference between
Confidence
the
and
two.
humility go together, and it's attractive.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do business with people who have their act together.
Right.
It's the halo effect.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
it. That is awesome. Well, this has been very cool stuff. So we're gonna start wrapping up here. We got 2 questions left. I asked
Okay.
these of everybody. The last one's the easy one. How do people get a hold of you? So we'll go through that in just a second because I know people are gonna definitely want to see more of what cool stuff you're doing. But before that, this is the Meet Cool People show. So
Yeah.
I ask every one of my guests a simple question: what do the words "meet cool people" mean to you?
I think that means that you want to meet people that you want to be around. There's a circle, and I talk about elevating your circle. You have an inner circle and an outer circle. And most people are in your outer circle. When you meet people, you're out there, you develop relationships with them, but then they become friends. And when they become your friends, they come to your inner circle. And your inner circle is a lot smaller than your outer circle. But when you meet cool people, you're meeting people who add value to your life and where you can add value to their life somehow, some way. It is people who can make connections with you, people who can make you laugh, people that you enjoy being around, because it is the human connection that makes us feel fulfilled. So whether we are serving others or if people are serving us, which learning to receive that is part of the soft skill that we need to teach. But receiving people's gifts and talents and being able to share yours really makes life perfect, is when you surround yourself with people that you believe are cool people. They lift you up, they elevate you, and it's why we get out of bed every day.
Wonderfully said. I love it. Love it. Love it. That was great. This is cool. So this has been awesome. Obviously, like I said, I highly recommend everybody, connect with Julie, follow stuff she's doing. She's doing some pretty cool stuff. Julie, how do people get a hold of you?
Well, you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook under The Real Julie A. Jones. I also have a website, todaysprofessionals.com. That is today's with an S, professionals with an S.com. Follow me and connect with me. I love to connect with people. So if you connect with me, I'll connect back.
Awesome. And I'm going to tell everybody, here's a secret I always say, and I'll repeat it again in case you didn't listen to one of the other episodes. When you connect with Julie, especially if you're connecting with her on LinkedIn or whatever, make sure that you tell her you heard her on this show and give her something that's like something that she said that was a great takeaway, because that's going to make you stand out. And that again, I think is kind of good etiquette.
Yeah, it is 100%. You have good etiquette, Eli.
Thank you, my dear. I appreciate it. This has been awesome. I knew it was going to be a lot of fun. You and I always have great conversations, and I appreciate you coming and hanging out with me today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. So thank you. I feel honored to be a cool people.
Yeah. And I will say, I'm going to close it out as I wrap everybody up here. You're going to get this all late because of the fact that we're recording this ahead of time. But Julie actually decided to spend her birthday with us today. So I am very privileged with that. And I thank you very much for that, Julie.
Absolutely. I wanted to be with a cool person.
Awesome. All right. Well, everybody else, get out there. Have an amazing week. As always, if there's anything I can do to help you out, reach out. Let me know. And that wraps up another Meet Cool People show. Now, if you like what you heard, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, or review so I can help introduce these amazing cool people to even more amazing cool people. And just remember, meeting cool people is just the beginning. You need to have a system in place to follow up with the amazing people that you meet. This is exactly what we do for our clients. Now, if you'd like to see if my team and I can help you, go to convertmoreclientsnow.com and check out the case study video to see exactly how we're helping our clients turn casual connections into cash clients for life. Again, go to convertmoreclientsnow.com and see how we can work together to turn you into a follow-up rock star.